Hi, I'm Sean from Romeo Records and More Internets Productions. In this video, we're going to use a PC and some free software for Windows 10 to combine two of my favorite hobbies, analog synthesizers and video games. Now, to be specific, we're going to explore how to use a PlayStation DualShock 3 controller to trigger and control sounds live on an analog synthesizer. To do this, we're going to utilize the Musical Instrument Digital Interface, or MIDI, but in this case, we're going to be sending our MIDI data over a USB connection. Let's take a look at all of the components required to complete this project. The first component is the synthesizer itself. In this video, we're going to use the Dave Smith Instruments Mopho synthesizer. This is a monophonic analog synthesizer, and it features a USB connection on the back that will allow us to transmit MIDI data via USB. The second component is this PlayStation 3 controller. This is a standard DualShock 3 controller that came out along with the PlayStation 3 in 2006. This is the charging cable normally used to attach to the PlayStation, but in this case we're going to use it to attach to our final component, the PC. This is a personal computer from iBuyPower, and it's currently running the latest version of Windows 10. Okay, first things first, we're going to get our synthesizer connected. Got our right and left stereo out. We also have our power connector. And finally, our USB connection. Now, when we power it on, we should hear Windows acknowledging the new device. Okay, that sound means that Windows has detected the device, and now we're just going to make sure we can hear the synthesizer out of our monitors. Okay, sounds good. Next, we're going to take our PlayStation 3 controller and attach it to the PC using this unoccupied USB slot. That sound again letting us know that Windows 10 has detected the device we just attached. And then if we take a look on the controller, we can also see this indicator light flashing, letting us know that the controller is connected. Windows 10 supports a wide variety of human interface devices right out of the box. A lot of devices like mice, keyboards, and gamepads are plug and play with Windows, meaning you plug them in and they're just going to work. Even Xbox 360 controllers can be plugged into a Windows 10 PC and be automatically translated into gamepad input to be used with your favorite PC games. Windows 10, however, does not support a PlayStation 3 controller, even though it will detect the controller and be able to read that it is a PlayStation controller. It will not allow you to send gamepad input directly to Windows 10 without doing a little bit of extra work. So the first thing we're going to have to do is install a third-party driver that's going to basically trick Windows 10 into seeing this PlayStation 3 controller as an Xbox 360 controller. Now that we have our PlayStation 3 controller and our synthesizer both attached to the PC via USB cables, it's time to take a look at the driver software we're going to need. The software we're using is from a developer called Scarlet Crush Productions, and you can download this zip file directly from their website. Once you unzip the contents of this folder, you're going to have a few different programs here. Now, the only two that we're concerned with are the SCP driver and the SCP monitor. The first thing we're going to do, after we've connected our PlayStation controller, it's very important to connect it first, is we're going to run this SCP driver application as administrator. We're going to say yes and allow the software to run. And once it comes up, we simply have to uncheck this Bluetooth driver box and also uncheck this configure service box. All we need from this installation is the USB driver for PlayStation 3, and that will be installed by default. Once we've unchecked the boxes, we click install. Very quickly, the software will complete its little objectives, and install has succeeded. Once you see this install succeeded message, you can go ahead and close the SCP driver program. Once that's done, you can verify that your controller is connected using the SCP monitor. Again, we're going to want to run this as administrator. Say yes. And we'll take a look here and see that on pad 1 we have a DS3, which stands for DualShock 3 controller, and here is the physical address of the controller. Finally, on the right, we can see the status of the controller. Here it's saying that the controller is fully charged. Now that we've succeeded in connecting our PlayStation 3 controller to Windows and having Windows be able to see and read the inputs from the controller, the next thing we need to do is transform these inputs into MIDI control data that will then be sent to the synthesizer to control it live. Now, this is a fairly in-depth process, so we're going to go back to the PC and show you step by step how we create the map for each button to control a specific parameter on the synthesizer. So we have our SCP monitor running here in the background, just giving us peace of mind that the controller is still connected and registered inside Windows 10. The software we're going to use to translate the controller inputs to MIDI data is called Furgo Joystick MIDI, and just like the driver, it can be downloaded for free from the internet. Once we open the software, one of the first things we'll notice is this joystick monitor section here in the bottom left. This is going to allow us to see if our controller is being read by the software. As I press the buttons on the controller, we can see the corresponding numbers inside the software light up. Similarly, when I move the joystick, we can see a whole range of motion being represented here inside the software. We can take this and assign it to a continuous control parameter on the synthesizer, which will allow us to modify the sounds we're playing live. Now, in order to start setting up and mapping the different parameters to the synthesizer, we need to go ahead and create a brand new preset. So I'm going to hit New. I'm going to name the preset Mopho. And then once I've done that, I need to make sure I load it as well. Now that we've loaded the preset, I'm going to make sure that our output device is set to the Mopho keyboard, and this is a USB driver that I've already installed in Windows that came along with the keyboard. Once this is done, we can add our first parameter by clicking the Add button. A new dialog window will pop up, and here's where we set everything up how we like it. Going down here to Send MIDI, we're going to pick the type of note to send. We're going to send a very simple Note On message on channel 1. The source is the button on the gamepad that we want to use to trigger the note. I'm going to set this at button 1, which is the X button on the PlayStation controller. Now finally, we're going to need to tell the software which note to activate on the synthesizer. The range is from 0 to 127, and for this video we're going to use the note 85 as our first note, which is a C sharp. Once I've set that up, we can see it listed here in the current MIDI output list, and we can test it by hitting Activate and simply pressing the corresponding button on the gamepad. Sounds good to me. I'm going to go ahead and set up a few more control parameters so we can play a little song on our controller. So I've gone ahead and set up 4 more parameters to our preset here that will allow us to control the synthesizer with a little bit more precision. I've gone ahead and added 3 more note toggles assigned to buttons 2, 3, and 4 for a total of 4. And then I've also assigned the X-axis of the joystick to a continuous control parameter on the synthesizer. This is going to allow me to manipulate the sound of the synthesizer in real time as I play the notes. Let's go ahead and activate this and perform a very special rendition of Mary Had a Little Lamb using the PS3 controller, the Furgo Joystick MIDI software, the SCP monitor and driver software, and our Mopho keyboard.